So I'm kilovoltage, real kilovoltage is my Twitter handle, and I'm interviewing Robo creator today, um, and he's built on Radix or radixdlt.com is their official website. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I think it would be Sunday night over at your place.
Yes, Sunday
Yes,
night.
yeah, it's Monday morning for me over here.
That's awesome. Well, what time of day is it there?
9:30 morning.
Oh, okay, and it's like 6:40 here, and the sun's still up
Oh,
here,
okay.
but
Yeah.
almost down. It was like 130 degrees Fahrenheit outside today. I'm sorry, not
Uh,
130, like 103.
okay. Yeah, well, it's 9:30, but the sun isn't, you can't exactly see the sun. It's the Hong Kong weather.
Oh, okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah. You have a terrible mix of humidity and the smoke from China, so it's not great.
Sure. And just so everybody knows, so you live in Hong Kong, which I find really
Yes.
interesting. Like people from all over the world that I discover like on talking to people, is like you think you know who someone is, and they're like, no, I'm from Hong Kong, or I'm from India, or I'm from Afghanistan, or I'm from London, or wherever. It's really interesting. Tell us about Hong Kong.
So I love Hong Kong. I live on one of the outlying islands. It's a really packed place, even though you do have a lot of parks, essentially, I would call them. So I think in Hong Kong, I like besides two people that I know personally and I have worked with them and I'm close friends with them, I have never met anybody who knew anything about Radix. And the reason why I know about Radix is also because of those two people. And so before that, I have been in crypto. I have sort of worked at a place that was somehow involved with Bitcoin mining. But yeah, that's about it. And more about Hong Kong is it's a really nice place. The transport is excellent. I mean, I haven't traveled around the world a lot, but from what I've heard, Hong Kong is great. You have like super fast trains, but on the other hand, you still have trams, which are like these electric buses that are connected via this wire, and they run at a very slow speed. So you have a mix of both in Hong Kong.
So I was
And
kind of reading about that a little bit. Like what I was reading, they said it's like one of the most tech advanced cities in the whole world. Is that your experience there? Like, do you feel like there's a lot of like potential for cryptocurrency and tech? And how techy would you say? I know you said you haven't traveled a lot, but like, do you feel like it's pretty technologically advanced place?
I would say yeah, it is. We have a lot of like tech initiatives by the government that are sort of digitizing the whole immigration system and all these other things. And when you talk about crypto, it's in a very interesting spot because everybody is familiar with China's stance on cryptocurrencies, and Hong Kong is at the doorstep of China, and there's this political influence. However, we have a lot of I would say money exchanges. They look like money exchanges, but you can walk in with your Binance account and you can cash out USDT for Hong Kong dollars, or you could
That's
have
awesome, dude. That's
or
amazing.
yeah, or you could have like you could transact USDT or Bitcoin or Ethereum, and they would send you um, send you Hong Kong dollars via this thing called the FPS, which is the faster payment system. So that's pretty cool, and that's also in like this huge contrast with China. We do have some art galleries here that say that, hey, this is Shout Art Gallery, so this is art plus NFT space. So there is a lot of I wouldn't exactly say adoption, but people are open to it. Like people know about it, people talk about it. I've met a few people that do invest in cryptos as well, even if it's meme coins. But I suppose that's like a wave of adoption, right? You start from this like dog themed coins, and eventually you make your way into
Sure, sure.
yeah.
Yeah. I think my wife is still at the meme coin phase, and I'm like at the Reddit phase. Like right before I
Yeah.
got online with you, she's like, "Hey, you sold my Dogecoin," and I'm like, "Yeah, I had to sell your Doge." She's like, "Oh, that means so much to me." So I had to go buy like 1,000, like 11,000 Doge right before I came here. And I
Uh,
don't really like Doge; it's not my preferred coin, but I want her to have her phase of crypto investing too. But she's definitely more in the meme coin phase, and she might be right too that like Elon's probably going to succeed in buying Twitter, and he might try to utilize that in some way. But I did tell her, like, I was like, you realize we could buy like 11,000 radix for this money. So do you feel
yeah.
like this as far as being like in the shadow of China, does that like feel like it's looming constantly, or is that not something that you really think about too much?
Yeah, I do think about it. There's because and the way things have happened previously in terms of laws, it has been very swift and has been very sudden. So there's always this, I would say, threat. But to be honest, there's really not much I can do about it. So yeah, there's something that I do worry about. And even when I go for staking in terms of on Radix, right?
Yeah,
I try to look for this geographical diversity. So if somebody's in Singapore that's crypto friendly, I would rather stake there rather than stake in some other place that has,
sure.
questionable laws regarding crypto. I mean, I know staking is safe, but at a certain amount, you really don't want to miss out on that 14 days of unstaking. So I I haven't seen people talk about it, but I think geographical diversity, with regards to the laws,
Yeah,
is
that's
also
really
a
smart.
factor that people should look into while staking.
I think I have some Singapore staking with Caviar
Yeah, I
Nine. I think
mean,
one of their Singapore. I love Caviar Nine, bro. They got some really good utility.
yes, I think Reddit is by Caviar 9 as well, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me about before we get into your like crypto experience. You have a lot of experience with like pen and ink or some kind of drawing. Is that also true?
No, no, not really. I've never trained as an artist. I've never worked as an artist. So I've only like done this as a hobby or something,
Gotcha.
that you do it on the side. In terms of my study and my work, I come from a finance background. So that's also one of the reasons why I'm interested in how the DeFi space develops and what
Yeah.
has held it back when you look at the Ethereum virtual machine. Um, yeah, but in terms of art, I have done stuff for myself, and I've posted about it in the Radical Robos Telegram group. But I have never worked or I've never trained. I'm looking forward to taking classes to, sort of learn more about digital art because traditionally I do it on pen and paper. So this digital art transition is a learning experience for me, but it has worked well so far.
So like in your creation process, do you draw those? Do you draw the Robos yourself?
Yes, I do.
Oh, cool.
I do.
Tell me about that
There.
creation process that you go through.
So when you look at so with the Robos, there are two, I would say two formats. One of them is the NFT format, which is a rightward facing Robo on a square canvas, right? So all the 5,000 collection would be in that format.
Uh
Yeah,
huh.
sorry about that. Yeah, just a moment. Yeah, so the collection would be in that format, and I try to do it as a PFP. So you have this, you don't see the circle, but there's a circle that I've drawn in the square canvas to make sure that when you look at Telegram and when you look at Twitter, the profile icons are circular. So I want to make sure that when I draw, I could get as much of the traits or the costume design in that circle as much as possible. And also, when you look at the design of the Robos, the lines are pretty thick, and it's intentional because when you're looking at a small icon, If you're looking at the abandoned scorpion, it's instantly recognizable because there's not a lot going on over there. So that was my approach with the Robos as well. So like eventually if somebody wants to have it as a PFP on Twitter or Telegram, you could be able to tell what the details are within that small circular icon. Of course, you can increase
I
it,
love it.
but normally people don't do that. And the second format, which I have been referring to as non-NFTs, is where you see Robos in different environments. You have seen the recent piece that I did with Bobby Flay as a chef.
Yes, I saw that. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and then you have the Pulp Fiction reference with the Robos. So I like doing that. Originally, that was a marketing thing for me, but when I'm in the NFT format, it doesn't allow me that much freedom because it's rightward facing. It has to fit
Sure.
this parameters. And then, but when I'm doing the other one, which is the non-NFT ones, I can make references to much more things. It gives me much more freedom, and that's why I also enjoy doing it. And I don't do this on Twitter, but in the Telegram group, I share the progress. You would have a rough sketch, then you would have a painted rough sketch sometimes, and then finally you would see the final format. So on Twitter, if somebody looks through the Pulp Fiction Robos, in the comment section, there's a rough sketch, which is closer to how I originally draw on pen and paper.
I think I saw one of your
So
sketches on the Telegram group, or maybe it was on the website, but I definitely saw one of the sketches somewhere. That's really cool, man. Like, I didn't realize that you had designed them to be like PFP friendly. I feel like a lot of people don't do that, and almost all the NFTs they seem to find their way into profile pictures. So I do think it's an advantage for Scorps. And looking at like how your excuse me, how your icon shows up and then the chat, it's perfect for a profile picture, which is really cool. Especially like you said about the thick lines around the edges. That's very smart.
yeah, I'm still experimenting on finding the right amount of thickness because if the lines are too thick, there are details that I cannot add, right? So like there are minor details which would just be it wouldn't allow me to add because the line itself is so thick. So I'm getting to this. I have lowered the thickness in some of the newer pieces that I posted, but it's almost indistinguishable. But it does allow me to add more, right? So recently I did this one. If you're familiar with the video game Metal Gear Solid, I did a Solid Snake Robo,
Yeah.
and so there were details that I wasn't able to achieve because of the thickness of the line. So I had to lower them a little bit. I do it in Procreate, so I went from I would say maybe 70 to 60-ish, and even though that doesn't look a lot, but when you're drawing it, it makes a lot of difference.
How long does it take to make a PFP radical robo?
So with the collection, I mean, it's going to be you're going to have a lot of these traits, and then it's going to be generative, and so that part is going to take a while, but not really that long, because I keep doing that on a daily basis. But when you look at some of the rare ones, which you have Solid Snake, you have Witcher, you have David Bowie, you have
Yeah, those are awesome. By the way, I was looking at those today.
yes, thank you. And you have all of these. So these take around, it's hard to say because I go from sketching on a book, on a paper, to doing it on Procreate. So it's really spread out, but I've never really sat down and did one in a single session. But
Sure.
maybe an hour or 2 hours. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say.
Uh-huh. So let me just make sure I clarify for people that are listening to this in the future. So that essentially there's going to be like predetermined traits for the main group of robos, and then you're going to use a software to like generate those traits into the NFTs, and then there'll be a separate set of NFTs that are like one of one custom robos.
Yes, exactly. That's how it's going to be. Originally, I thought the one of one would be wouldn't be that many, but I keep doing them. Like I don't stop. So now I don't know where the number would be. It could be a lot, but yeah, for the rest of them, that's how it's going to be. There's going to be generative art via
And how will
software.
you? How will like? Let's say that I'm an investor of NFTs and I'm just listening to this discussion. How do they get access to one versus the other? Is that determined by the airdrop, or would that be something that's like community giveaways, or how would you get your hands on like a one of one radical robo?
So in line with most of the NFTs that have been on Radix, it's going to be random. So if you really want, I mean, it makes me sound greedy, but if you really want a one of one, the only way you can increase your probability is by holding two or three and so on. Because at the end, the distribution will be random. It will be entirely
Oh,
random.
okay, I see. So they'll be mixed in with the final drop, and basically you'd be like a lottery. Like if I have 10 Robo tokens, I don't know, are they called Robo tokens?
Yes, yes, they're just
I would.
Robo tokens.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, I just want to make sure I use the right terminology. So let's say I bought 10 Robos, and then when Babylon comes, I would turn those in, and whatever percentage of the final number is one of ones, you would have like a ten draws at that to try to catch one. Is that sort of the way it works?
Yes, yes, that would be exactly like you would. It's essentially like drawing a lottery. You know, you have
Yeah,
one ticket and two tickets.
I don't think that's greedy at all, man. I think that's awesome. Is it also adds a lot of fairness, right? If you don't do it that way and you just put them out there, someone's going to come along and say, "I'm going to buy all the one of ones," and then they're going to have a bunch of the random ones, which would probably, you'd probably sell a lot of those too. But I think that'll really incentivize, people holding if they feel like they're getting an equal shot. So I wouldn't say that it's greedy. I think that it's very clever of you to do it that way for your investors too.
Yeah, like I saw that this was a case with Rippy Clip, Ratterflies, and I'm not sure how the Nerds Republic would distribute them, but I would imagine it might be something along similar, like a similar model. I think the Penguins would be some doing something similar as well. So yeah, it also helps to avoid the need for a centralized database. Unless Babylon comes along, for all these other projects, I'm imagining the creator has to maintain a centralized database, and then when you have something random like this, you don't have to do that.
You're saying you don't have to have a centralized database.
Because you don't have to say, for example, let's say if you say Team Moth, shout out to him, has, let's say, Naruto Robo, and you know that because you don't have Babylon right now, you have to display that on your website somehow, saying this address which belongs to Team Moth has a Naruto Robo. It has to be backed up by a database of sorts, right? And when he chooses to, let's say, sell it or give it to Kevin, then that change would have to be done in that database.
Oh,
So
yes, yes, I see
yeah.
your point. I see your point. Yeah, I think that's really nice too, because if you're going to do giveaways, like Bobby, for example, then he can just send those to people instead of having to send them to you and have them be, you have to give them a few days to transfer. Is that true then? Like if he was, let's say I'm Bobby Flay and I just want to give away a Robo, I can just send them the token directly then because they're not in the database. Is that also true?
Yes, yes, that's how it works. Like from all the previous giveaways that he's done with the Robos, and I think with some of the other projects, it's been like that. If you hold a token, it just represents one. It represents that you'll eventually have one Robo post
Gotcha.
Babylon.
Gotcha.
What
That's
Robo
awesome.
that would
So,
be is you'll find out later.
right. And that'd be something you'd find out after Babylon, I assume.
Yes, yes. But even before that, there'll be a lot of artwork. So people would, even if they don't know obviously what they're gonna get, they can get this um, they can get the vibe of the whole collection. You can understand how it's going to look like. So even right now, you would see that even the non-NFT Robo artworks, they have the theme which matches the original collection in terms of art style.
Oh yeah, seen those. Those are really good. Are those going to be a part of the collection also, or will those be like held separately? The like the non NFT ones.
I haven't really thought about how the non-NFT ones will be like what would be done with them. But for the 5,000, the original 5,000, what you would call the Genesis collection, it would be just the rightward facing Robos in a square canvas. Um, I'm not sure what I would do with the one of ones in the non-NFT collection, but maybe they would be given away to at random to these holders of the original collection.
That sounds great, man. And what would you say to like future plans for your collection? Like let's say Babylon's here and that happens and that's done. Do you have any plans for like a DAO or any kind of future utility?
So with terms of utility, like I know that there are projects out there that offer utility or at least the promise of utility, but I've been very open about the fact that this is essentially a art PFP project, so there's not exactly a utility. However, I do have a plan post Babylon for a Robo companion collection, right? So how this would tie into that is by holding a Robo token, you would have a whitelist spot for the secondary for that collection. I think whitelist is probably not something the Radix community might be familiar with because that's you never needed to have a whitelist spot in Radix because you
Sure.
have the time. Yeah. So
I think we're
whitelist
getting there
spot.
fast though.
Yes. I've seen collections sell out within 24 hours, so that might happen soon. But I think even with the whitelist, you would have to have something. You would have a pre-sale of some sorts because you don't have this smart contract authorizing this whitelisted set of
Right.
wallets, right? So I don't know
Sure.
how that works pre-Babylon, but
That's
definitely
good to know though. Like you
post-Babylon.
said, that's good to know that you have a future project that you're working on that you could tie it into. It definitely adds value for your holders.
Yeah, so like there are a lot of other projects out there that have this. You would have an overarching brand, and then you would have projects within those brands. And holding a Genesis project would give you whitelists. It happens a lot in Ethereum. Um, I know what the Radix Twitter narrative is regarding Ethereum, but at the moment it is the premier NFT space, and I do look at it a lot for to understand what's going on and the amount of talent that that space has, and for artists, it's just exceptional. So uh, with the absence of a DAO and other utilities that some other projects might offer, so this is what I would say I have been very transparent about what the Robos would bring to the holders eventually.
Yeah, I could see like in the future. I was listening to Bobcats, the new Solana NFT that came over. They were kind of talking a little bit about their experience, and I could really see this happening to your NFT, which is kind of cool. That they had said essentially that OpenSea had to like acknowledge Solana because they were so big, and so they basically welcomed all those people in. And I could totally see in the future, like all of the Radix NFTs being like sort of. I don't know if it would happen, but I could totally see them vying for our projects in the future as we grow. Like when you get a Coinbase or a Binance listing in the future, and we get a lot of people here, and there's a lot of NFT growth. I could totally see in the future like there being like a radical Robos listing on OpenSea if our community grows to that point, which we don't know if it's going to happen, but I feel like we're all on the right track for that to happen, considering we don't even have smart contracts yet. So I was just thinking about that today, and your NFT in particular, maybe it's because we were planning on this meeting, but I thought I could totally see that on there. It has that sort of a look to it.
Yeah, I've seen a few collections on that that have a similar vibe to it. There's definitely doodles. There's definitely cool cats. There is a new collection that launched last week called Boki, which which I suppose people won't be familiar with, but it does have that PFP and this color palette sort of. There's a lot of similarities with those projects. So yeah, I can imagine. I hope at least something like this would happen.
Is there anything you want to talk about with your regards to your NFT that you don't think I've covered, like as far as why it's something that you think people would enjoy?
With regards to the Robos, I think there isn't really much to say. I mean, I wouldn't say anything just for the sake of saying it. I mean, it's an artist-led project, and I think that's pretty much sums up the whole thing.
Yeah, that's great,
Um,
man.
yeah.
I don't think you have to have those things. I think that every project is different, and you have really clear goals of what you want. And people are very excited to for me to talk to you. So I know there's a lot of people that are interested in your project, and I think it's great. Um, can you tell me again, because we kind of changed directions early on. Like, how did you get involved in the Radix community? You said you had a couple friends that were into it, and you might have like talked to them, or maybe they were acquaintances.
Um, yeah, so in like before Radix, I have been in the crypto space mainly as an investor, like most people have been since 2016, 2017. But of course, back then it was mainly just Bitcoin, Ethereum, I think Cardano, and a few other that, that don't need any mention now because they've just vanished. And so, and I wasn't familiar with Radix. And then I had a friend, a friend that I worked with previously, and I also lived nearby. And he introduced me to Radix and a few other projects. So I looked into the other ones and also Radix as well. And I would say, I don't know if it's true, but I would say like to truly appreciate what Radix is doing, a person would need to have like a certain level of technological understanding of how blockchain and um, what the bottlenecks of traditional blockchains have been, and where Radix is trying to go with the sharding um, system essentially. So, and I would say I'm not that informed technologically speaking, but uh, I could tell that Radix is trying to build something very different, and even if it's gradual, which is okay, which is nice, you're future proofing it, and if it takes time, it takes time. Um, and then so that's how I sort of started off with Radix, and then I came here for the tech, but I would say I'm staying here for the community because the connections that I've made are unlike any that I've made in any other crypto space so far. Like
Yeah,
even in
totally
the
agree.
yeah, so like even in the Telegram group, which I think it's not linked on Twitter, it's not linked on the website, because I believe anybody who's looking to buy Robos, they don't exactly have anything to gain from the Telegram group because we don't talk as much about the Robos. We just talk about everything, pretty much everything else besides Robos. It maybe forms like 10% of the conversation is about Robos. And so the community is great. People are really helpful, which I haven't seen in any other places.
It's really strange to me, and I don't know if it's because we're so small, but I feel the same way from having been on other chains. I know Radix isn't technically a chain, but like other projects, I do feel like there's something about our community that's very unique, and they're very like if you maybe I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but it feels like everyone kind of knows everybody. And everyone's sort of looking out for each other. T Moth's a great example of that when he called out the Yukio scam, and it's really nice and refreshing how awesome the people are. And it does seem like an exceptional thing, and I hope we don't lose that when we get huge, which I know is eventually it's going to happen, where it's going to be so many people that's going to be hard to keep track of everything. But I do really appreciate how great it is right now to know everyone, and it does feel like a Radix family, so to speak, is the word I use sometimes when I'm on Twitter.
Yeah, and I think this community feeling is also like one of the reasons uh, to the success of when you look at the abandoned scorpions, right? Even right now, if I look at my Twitter space, it's me and three other scorpions. So it's really cool. And when I try to talk about this to non-crypto people, the concept of NFTs, even if it's zero utility, it's very hard for them to understand. But the community feeling that you get by holding, let's say, a scorpion is unlike you would get even owning like a really expensive pair of Nikes or this really premium bag or whatever. And I totally get that. But yeah, so I don't know if this happens on other platforms, especially chains, right? But I think that's what has made scorpions as big as they are.
Sure. And I think you're like well aligned to be in that similar situation in the future with your like PFP based NFTs. They totally look like they could have that sort of appeal to them. So, Tim or Whoopty, do you guys want to ask any questions at all to Robo Creator? I think everybody's good, man. Thanks for coming on and talking to me, bro. I really appreciate it. It's good to learn a lot about your NFT too, because I haven't spent enough time over there. I'm going to try to get in your Telegram more, and I'll probably pick up a Robo or two also.
Okay, yeah, I think this is probably the first time I've talked at length about robos like this because I don't know if you've experienced this, but outside the crypto space or essentially outside the NFT space, people are not very enthusiastic about NFTs. At least
No, I
that's
agree with that totally. Everybody seems to think that we're out to launder money or do a pyramid scheme. And
yeah.
that could be true in some circumstances, but definitely not the feeling I get from our groups. Timoth said he's on a train right now, so he can't talk.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, I think what a lot of people also feel is that NFT has become synonymous to monkey pictures, right? But you don't they don't try to understand the concept of the NFT, which is basically it could have any underlying asset. We've had real estate, physical real estate, and NFT, having representation of ownership of that physical real estate. So that's I think it's a little bit about education as well, but I definitely don't try to force that on people in with regards to NFTs. But I think once we see a few uh, CBDCs like central bank digital currencies, we may even see NFTs as bonds, government backed bonds, and they
Sure.
could essentially function in the same way like when you sell a scorpion to somebody else. And if there are Bobby Flay airdrops in a similar situation, you would sell an NFT bond to somebody else and they would get the future coupon payments. So I think we're really in this early stage, and uh, this adoption that has come from these board APR clubs has been great, but it also comes at the cost that the general population doesn't look nicely upon them. But I hope it would change soon, sooner rather than later.
Sure. Do you feel like, as a person that's in the financial industry, that you kind of have a little bit of a window into the future, as far as, like you said, with the bond situation? Like, if NFTs were used as bonds, do you think that you may have a unique perspective being in the financial industry?
I mean, there are things that like even in this, I think this is probably the first time I've expressed that I've mentioned that I have a finance background, because in the Telegram group or in my website that I've never mentioned that. Um, but I would say I'm really excited about the DeFi opportunities that Radix would bring. I don't exactly say I have an edge I do feel that there are some rewarded, because essentially what we do is something that a lot of people could, which is like valuation and all these things. But I have been seeing the development of DeFi, and that has come along with Ethereum, and you have these hacks, and you have all these failures of systems, which we saw with Luna this month, UST. So I'm just really excited because, I mean, I don't know how future would unfold, but what I have a feeling about is Radix is going to be far, far, far more secure than anything we have seen so far. And that's what
Yeah,
really makes me excited about it. And I do think that a lot of people that have come to Radix have come for the DeFi potential, and then NFTs are just like an add-on to that thing.
I agree with that for sure. And it's funny you say that because when I was talking to the Bobcat guys again today, and I don't know, did you hear that part of that conversation when we were talking to them today? I was with Radish guy and Buff Wild. You were
I
probably
heard
sleeping. You were probably sleeping, but maybe you were awake
yeah,
for
I'm
that.
guessing, yeah. But I did hear your Twitter space with, I think it's Bonafide Plug. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
that's the name. Yeah, I did
that
hear
is
your
his
Twitter
name. Yeah,
space with that. Yeah,
he
but
was there this morning, and him and Tom Gaffney were talking, and we got in there. There was like maybe 15 Radix people on there. It was pretty cool, but what they were um, kind of saying was exactly what you're describing. They said the day that they were going to launch their project, that Solana shut down, and it was huge, right? Like you have this one opportunity to really, really launch, and you've been building it up for months, I assume, and then the thing is shut down, and that was like a part of what made them decide to come to Radix. The other part of it, which I kind of asked them about in a different conversation, was there was a paper published by the Radix DLT team, and they were talking about how secure our NFTs will be when we're on post Babylon with Scripto, and it was pretty awesome read. So I definitely get the feeling from people that it will be more secure, and it's definitely a part of our marketing. I think too, right? Is that we will be able to offer security to people as opposed to Ethereum, where the code is so complex that there's a lot of opportunities to cheat people or to have malicious schemes to take advantage of the code. And I don't think that's really going to be as much of a problem on Radix. I mean, we don't know for sure though, right? Like it will be nice to have that day come and actually see how that goes. But it seems like we're really heading on the right track for security.
yeah, I think you're referring to the Board API Club hack that Radix mentioned in their articles, right?
Yes, yes, I am.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's terrible. And also we had the Axie Infinity hack, which was also a Solidity based situation over there. And also the gas fees on Ethereum it's insane. I haven't bought any Ethereum NFTs. I did help a friend, set up his MetaMask and all that stuff. So he was essentially buying a NFTs that he was buying one NFT that was worth around 300 US dollars, and he was had to pay around 250 USD in gas fees, which is insane.
That's crazy.
Um, and then we had the other side, which is the Board API Club project, and where the gas fees were pretty much as the asset was worth. So the asset itself was worth 6,000 US dollars, and people reported paying almost the same amount in gas fees, which is
Wow.
um, I don't know if Ethereum people have sort of accepted this to be the norm, because uh, now that you've seen Solana come and shut down at several points, the narrative in the Ethereum community is that gas is not a problem, gas fee is a feature. I don't know if how loud that narrative is, but I've seen a few people talk about it that and Solana, while it offers an alternative, has sort of highlighted the situation that, okay, I'm paying $50 for this transaction, but I know it's going to go through. In the rare occasion it does not go through, I mean, that happens as well. But now that we have had the Solana, I mean, I understand what Solana is trying to do is great, but it's sort of backfired, and a lot of projects have, you know, have this situation. They're more forgiving of gas fees now.
Sure. I think I'm just speaking from my own opinion. I don't go to Ether telegrams or anything, but I imagine too, with the promise of like Ether 2.0, that they probably think the fees will get a lot better. So it's kind of like, we just gonna kind of wait until that goes away. And from an investment point of view, it's probably an okay investment, but I just feel like long term, there's so many problems with Ethereum that it's not gonna be enough, which is why I'm like really aped into Radix.
Yeah, like I think I think there's, if you go on YouTube, there's this set of videos. If you search MIT blockchain, that was, I think, my first proper um I would say that's my first proper introduction to all these blockchain mechanics. But I think if Ethereum is probably like a telephone, and maybe that's just a stepping stone that we have to go through to get to like a smartphone stage, which is
Sure.
Radix.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah. I mean, it definitely has a contribution in terms of adoption and other things. But yeah, even in the long term, I'm not very bullish on Ethereum. I don't exactly go in chats and Discord servers, but I do look at it for mainly for the art. And I discuss that a lot in the Telegram group, because I understand
Sure.
that a lot of people who are on Radix aren't coming from Ethereum NFTs or Solana NFTs yet.
I agree. I
So
think yet is the key
yeah.
word there. I think about that too, actually, because I've seen a similar art. Like, there's also very high quality art on Solana, and I don't know if you're familiar with Tezos or XCZ. They have some really incredible art there too, and I feel like that's something that will come. And maybe it doesn't happen, but like 6 months ago, we weren't really thinking about Twitter Spaces, and that's here now, right? And we have a lot of new projects coming, and there's huge things going on in the background with a lot of projects developing NFT exchanges and DApps for the Babylon launch. And I feel like this is probably just something that will come with time. But I would like to see that happen in Radix, and I think it's a part of it is like you said about us being so early. Like, if you're going to be selling like that quality caliber of art, I think you're going to want those smart contracts to be here already. Like, from an investment point of view, we're right where we want to be. But if you have like a really expensive thing that you've been working on for a long time with heavy investment, you might wait till that point in the future. But I'm really excited about the potential of those kind of projects coming to Radix, and I think it will happen eventually.
Yes. I just received a message from Kevin in the Telegram group. I think there was maybe a confusion when I said $50 in terms of gas fees. I was talking about Ethereum, that uh, people pay $50 in gas fees in Ethereum, and
Yes.
it's not nice. But given how Solana has had its downtime recently, people are not as vocal as they were before about how bad paying $50 is. Because
Right.
earlier, people were very vocal. They said, "Oh, the gas fees is killing me because every transaction, every interaction you have with Ethereum, you're paying gas. Even if you're going from wrapped Ethereum to Ethereum, you're paying gas." Um, but I think now they're sort of saying that it's a feature. So yeah, so I just want to clarify that. I just got a message in the Telegram group from Kevin. But I also think, like what you said earlier, when you look at Radix and when you look at Ethereum, there are certain projects on Ethereum that in just in NFTs, when you look at the art and when you look at how much work that they have done, I'm not familiar. I don't know if you're familiar with this company called Collider Craftworks. They do models for AAA games like Assassin's Creed, Gotham Knight, Mortal Kombat, Injustice 2. Are you familiar with any of those games?
I'm familiar with the games. I'm not familiar with the company. I was actually just playing Valhalla today, actually.
Yeah, so you can see you're familiar with how well done those models are, right?
Oh, they're
How
amazing.
Yeah, so they had a NFT launch on Ethereum, and the price of one of those models was $1,000 US, right? And that's a huge price. But when you kind of understand the kind of expertise this team has and the weight of the experience that they bring to the project, and when you look
Right.
at everything else, you're more willing to pay that amount of money. But I would imagine if something like that would come to Radix pre-Babylon, people wouldn't meet that project with as much enthusiasm. So I think once uh, we are beyond Babylon, we'll see a huge influx of these really talented creators.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
yeah, not to mention that the creators we have now are exceptionally talented as well, but um, it's just going to be louder. It's going to be, I think, you would have this breakneck speed in terms of hype, which I don't really enjoy. But I think once you scale to that point, it's inevitable. You would see people grinding
Yes.
for projects, and all those things are going to happen. I mean, it's a good thing.
It'll be
But
like
yeah,
on one hand you're gonna have huge financial opportunities and possibly like really great art opportunities, but you're gonna lose your ability to hang out with the people you know so well. Maybe you'll still
yes,
hear them, but
yes.
there'll be a lot of noise. Like Telegram probably isn't even gonna work at that point, right? We're gonna have to like have discords just to separate the conversations.
Yeah, I imagine that would happen. But I do think like somebody mentioned something about we might just have this Discord server or some other kind of social media platform that will be Scorps only. So you would validate your wallet, and if you have a Scorp, you would get an entry. Otherwise, you won't. I can imagine how that would play out in the future, probably post Babylon. And I'm really excited about that because I too hold one that have named the Robo Scorp on
Oh,
the
that's
on the
awesome.
website. Yes, I bought it from Bobby Flay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's massive. He's massive in the Radix community.
Yeah, yeah. I talked to him quite a bit. Love that guy. He's a huge part of the giveaways, as everyone knows too. It's like money just flows into his hands like a magnet because he's so good at trading. Because he loves to like when he's not trading, he's reading books about trading. And I talked to him about it a little bit once, and it's just amazing like how much knowledge he has for like options and any kind of trading knowledge. It's like a really valuable resource that anybody could really tap into. And we're really
Yeah, I
lucky to
think
have him too as a person here that does giveaways. It's incredible. I think I've gotten like a couple scorps from him when we were early on in the ecosystem. He's just like, here, just take them. It's just amazing.
yeah, it's really awesome. I think he mentioned at some point that originally he set up his Twitter to sort of tweet about his plays, his buys and sells and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, what he's doing now is really amazing. There are a few other people that come to mind. We have Be Like Water. We have um, Jordan. I think it's Jordan Tyler Jones. Maybe I've
Yeah, yeah.
yes, yeah. So we have all these people.
They're all super generous, aren't they?
Yes, yes, yes. And what's really amazing is that even though we are a year away from Babylon, which is probably like the first major product that Radix is going to deliver, but we have this community which is nothing but nice. It's really nice to see that.
It's refreshing. We talked about that a week ago with Bonafide Plug and how if everyone in the world was like a Radix person, there would be like no wars and people would just be giving away like, oh, do you need a shirt? Here's a shirt for you. You need a place to stay? Here, come live at my house. Like it's just a top-notch community.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine Bobby Flay doing like couch spot giveaways. But yeah, I think you also mentioned about IP and commercial rights, and I think as the space develops, we'll see more on that topic in Radix as well. I'm really looking forward to how that plays out.
When you say commercial rights, are you talking about my conversation where I asked people if their NFTs were like if they went and sold them, how that interplays with the creator?
Yes, 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 exactly. Like when you own, like let's say when you have a Bored Ape Yacht Club's NFT. So I think there was a recent example where somebody owns, I think, two, or three, maybe even five of them, and he opened a restaurant in California or some other state, and it's plastered with those Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs.
Any
Um,
perspective from your point of view as the Robo creator to like, do you have any stance on that for your NFTs? Like, will your holders have rights to do things like that? If let's say Robos is one of those, high class things, and they want to say, I'm going to make a Robo club, and there's going to be like various Robos all over the wall and pictures. Would they have rights to do that, or would they need to buy that from you?
no, I think it, like my stance is like they should, and yes, they would have the rights to do that. So if they want to have, they want to do it on like t-shirts or some kind of apparel, if they want to do it in any other shape or form that um, that's reasonable, like that doesn't go against the project or the community or any kind of cultural issues, it's okay.
That's
I think
awesome.
it's sort of the idea of using NFTs for commercial purpose is when I think when somebody buys, let's say, a Scorp for 20 XRD and you sell it for 20,000 XRD, that is also a part of the chain. That's probably the first one, but it's just get overlooked into it because that's just so natural that, okay, I'm buying one and I'm flipping it later. But it does, I would say it's probably the very first form of commercial use that you do.
Sure.
But people, yes, but people uh, don't realize that because it's just, okay, I'm buying it, I'm selling it later for a profit or a loss. But I've also seen that there are other projects that are very detailed about how the commercial rights plays out. So they would have a contract which would say you can monetize your NFT up to 100,000 US dollars. So there are other things like that as well.
Uh-huh.
And I think I haven't heard about this ever being an issue, but I've seen a few projects. Now I can't remember the name that they do that. They put a limit, they put a cap on the monetization you can do. Um,
I had a
um,
previous NFT on a different chain, and I paid maybe $3,000 for it, and 3,000 US dollars, and that was great. I loved it, and I didn't know a lot about NFTs at the time, and I found out later that like if you wanted to like hang that in your house as a picture, they would sell it to you, but you're only buying the digital rights. Which my understanding is like there's a lot of cool people like the Radix people that are like, yeah, we're cool with that. But a lot of people are also like that, where they'd say like this is a business opportunity for them, and they're going to ask you to buy separate rights if you're going to do that. So I don't. Needless to say, I don't own that NFT anymore. I kind of got away from that, but that was really an eye opener for me that that was a thing, and that the whole Yuga Labs Bored Ape Yacht Club thing that was a real sign of value is to like hardly anybody ever uses that, right? But there are those guys like the one you mentioned that are going to make a whole business model out of it. So it is a really cool thing to think about. And so far, everyone has said yes, yes, and Radix that I'm aware of. Um, we'll see. I'm going to talk to Radical Penguins next week. I'm going to interview them. That'll be a good one. So I'll have to ask them that and part of that process.
oh, that's really nice. I like the I think Radical Penguins is perhaps the first 3D Radix NFT. Is that true?
I think it is true, and to my knowledge, it is true.
Okay, yeah. I really like what they're doing. The art is great, and yeah. But I've seen this um like you have these IP rights situation, and then you have all these brands come in to acquire. Like recently, I don't know, are you familiar with this project called Clonex? It's on Ethereum and it got acquired. The studio behind the project got acquired by Nike, and Nike has this thing called CryptoKicks. So that's a really nice read if somebody wants to check out how like commercial uses and IP rights play out. And if anybody also wants to go further, there are a few articles by this what's called a Magic Circle law firm called Norton Rose Fulbright that also like dives into the commercial rights and IP uses of NFTs. Um, but yeah, so far it's been, I've seen a few people have Scorp t-shirts. It's really nice to see. And
That's awesome.
yeah, so previously we were supposed to have an NFT exhibition conference or some sort of thing like that in May in Hong Kong, but I think they've pushed back the date. I'm just looking forward to when that's going to happen.
That's a
And
general speaking NFT exhibition, or is it specific to certain chains or groups?
so from what I saw, it doesn't mention anything about whether it's on a group or like it doesn't limit. There are no limiters, so I didn't see anything like that. But I would imagine a lot of people would be about, it would normally be about Ethereum, and maybe not even as much about Solana.
Sure.
Um, yes, but I
The
think
thing that I think that, and I think we touched on this the other day, but also in the future, I think NFTs you're going to see. I think you kind of alluded to this as well, but like uh, as a pass, right? Like this is my key to get into whatever other products I might be buying. It might be my key to get into a group, or it might be my key to get into a sporting event. But I think at this point in time, a lot of people don't use it for that. But it is like, I think the direction that we're heading in is that not just as an art form, but also as a pass to unlock whatever privileges or groups, or maybe it's a product that you're getting. I think they'll see a lot more of that in the future with NFTs as the space grows.
yes, I think it was. I think some people might be familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk. He has his line of NFTs called the We Friends, and what you essentially, those are expensive. I mean, those are really expensive. But what
Uh,
you do get is you essentially get access to WeCon, which is like this South by Southwest headed by Gary Vee. So that's one form of utility. If you own a VFriend, you get access to like the next 3 years of the VCon. I think the VCon
yeah,
is
that's a
about to
perfect
happen or it's
example.
just happened right now. Um, yeah, so that's pretty nice. The NFT itself are just doodles, but that's the utility behind it. I think some of them also have, I think the rarer ones also come with an opportunity to dine or spend like an hour or 2 hours with Gary Vee himself. So I can imagine going
Oh wow.
forward, utility is going to play a huge factor in NFTs, whether it's about games or whether it's about physical events or whether it's even something as simple as owning an NFT gives you, if you want to, you can claim the physical print. So I know that there are other NFTs that do that. There's this one called The Art of Seasons by Dirty Robot, not associated with me in any way, but
Yeah.
they have an NFT line called The Art of Seasons, and if you buy them, some of them, you can ask for the physical print, and it's the same thing. They don't have any other utility behind except that it's an artist-led project, and they have a secondary project. And by holding the first one, you get whitelists for the second one. So it's a really nice. I love the art. I love even the secondary project is absolutely amazing. But yes, it is on Ethereum if anybody is wondering. And yeah, but like yeah, Gary Vee is a good example. I can understand if his pace of speaking can be intimidating for some people, but yes, he talks a lot about NFTs.
Do you think that crypto in the future would allow us to have an advantage as far as Radix in particular with like NFT utility? It seems like it would be like a good match for like you said, after Babylon, I think that might open some doors and opportunities to make it easier for people to have utilities on their NFTs.
Like I like I'm not a developer, so I can't say anything about this particularly, but I do know like there are if something that I believe that if there is something that Ethereum can do, I'm pretty sure Radix can do that and more and better. So like you previously mentioned about access, you do have these NFTs that if you buy, it's essentially a pass. It's called the name of one would be the plug pass. So what you do is once you buy the plug pass, you get access to a Discord server. And what happens in that Discord server is they're basically discussing NFT alpha. They're giving whitelist spots. So the idea of having access is already there on Ethereum, and I have no doubt that it should be there on Scripto enabled Radix as well. So, but how or like the technical part of it, I'm not familiar with it. I wish I knew more about coding than I do, but yeah, right now I can't really say much about it.
Oh, that's okay, man. It's still a pleasure to talk to you. You have a lot of unique perspectives, and I love hearing about your art as well.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's really nice to be able to talk about the Robos in this length and in this details, and also about other NFTs in general. Um, Even on the Telegram group, we discuss about these things among other topics as well. But yeah, it's always nice to have, there's always a human touch to a voice call.
There's
That's
so much
always a
stuff that in my experience, that you can't, especially on Twitter, because of where they limit. Telegram doesn't really do that, but Twitter in particular, which I use a lot, they limit. You have to say like, here's 10 tweets to get my point across, and there's so much of that can easily be like heard and understood, like in talking to someone, like you said about the density of the lines and the purpose of it being a PFP. Those are all things that I didn't realize about your project, which are really cool. So it's really good to get to talk to you, and I hope that people that are listening that are like investigating your project will take some of that to heart and say, "Oh, this is very interesting," and I didn't realize that about his project. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think I will maybe put back the Telegram link on the website for some time. So far, the Telegram group is like 160, 170 people, and not everybody participates in the conversations. But I'll put it back on the website. So if somebody's coming immediately after this Twitter space, they would have access to it. But yes,
Great idea.
if anybody is, I think if you're on the edge about Robos, personally, I would say that you wouldn't gain anything from the Telegram group because I don't really talk about the Robos over there. I just go there as a friend because that's what I feel about that group right now. Um, yeah, but I think somebody did ask me the other day how the collection reveal is going to be like, and so I mentioned this before that I'm working on the traits. So the longer time that I can spend, the more traits I could have. And when you look at the scorpions, there's this very interesting play where you have monoscorp and you have a halo or a boxer or you have a siggy, I think that's what they call it.
Yep.
And then you have these interplay of these two attributes that give you a rarity. I think creator of the Scorps did not intend for that, but the community have um, this structure now. So I think the thing with Robos is the more traits there are, the further you would go away from this kind of gamification system. I essentially call it like gamification because you have these rarities similar to how you have them in games. Um, but I think the more time that I spend, the more traits that I put in, the more it goes away from that. But I think everybody would appreciate having something as unique as possible. You wouldn't want to have a robo that has a hoodie that's blue, and then there's a Robo out there that has a hoodie that's orange, and there's no other difference between the two.
Yeah,
So I'm just
totally, man.
taking my time
I love it. I think that's one
to
of the common
incorporate as
pitfalls.
much. Yeah, yeah. So there, I would do to an extent collections within the collection as well. So you would see some robos have certain attributes that you would imagine, you would automatically think, okay, this is a collection of 20 within the 5,000. And, or you could say these 50 are a collection within the 5,000. So there would be that. But as in terms of reveal, I don't have any timeline, but yes, I feel like I've been uh, I've been frequent enough in my release of artworks. So there's a good balance between NFT and non-NFT ones. I'm not sure which one people would like to see more. Do you want to see the non-NFT ones? Um, because I feel they add value to the collection, even though they're not part of it. I feel that they add value to it because you could have a robo and then you could look at that and you're like, yes, you could you would feel good about it, given the fact that you own the robo as well. So yeah, but in
Sure.
terms
Yeah,
of
I could see that totally.
yeah, but in terms of putting out items, yeah, that's going to be very frequent, as frequent as I can be. Most of them are going to be rare because those are the things that people like to see most. But yeah, I'm not sure what's the timeline on projects like Republic of Nerds, on Radical Penguins, or I think it's CryptoPunks in terms of the reveal of the full collection. But for me, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. It's probably going to be closer to Babylon, really close to Babylon.
I
But
think it's
even if I
very
do,
wise, honestly, bro. Like, uh, um, I think that there's some benefit to going early, but I think in the long run, the people that are investing in your project are going to appreciate like the diversity of the collection more than the pace, because I think that's going to determine a lot, have a lot of influence on the long term value. And I was just going to say on the Scorp point real quick. One thing I noticed about Scorps that I personally really like is the colors. Some of them are really eye popping, especially like the like electric outlines. You know, like if you look at my PFP, that's got like this like sort of a cyan sort of trim around it, and I think it. There's a lot of things that Chrome did either intentionally or not. I talked to him. Yeah, I'm working him up to get an interview with him. Like we've talked about it a few times, but I think a little. I think the prospects of people listening to him talk is a little intimidating. But I think that for whatever reason, the colors are very eye popping in some cases with Scorps, and it's very pleasing to the eye to like I don't know from like an art perspective, like your eye is very sensitive to orange and yellow and red, and some of these colors are like colors that contrast really well with those colors. And I think even though the design is very simple, there's something about them that's got a very like crisp, clean, like sort of intensity to it that I don't always see. And I don't know if you get a chance to do that with the Robos at all, but I think it would be cool to like explore if you have the time to look into that to make some like really vivid color combinations to really draw out. Like if you look at it from a design perspective, like on a color wheel, you know, of like things that really contrast well together, there's some really potential to make like real eye popping PFPs.
yes, I think I mentioned somewhere about the color palette of the Robos being. So I think if you do go across the Robos, you'd see that they have a very, I don't know the word, I think a very chill, a very cool color palette on
Yeah,
all of them.
totally agree.
Yeah, but I understand what you mean when you say about the pop, about like loud colors. That's also, that's also, it has its own charm. And it's really nice when I look at your PFP and there are some other Scorpion PFPs, it reminds me a lot of, so there's a dying industry in Hong Kong of neon signs,
Oh
because
yeah, I
basically the
love
tech,
neon
yeah,
signs.
yeah, because the tech have moved to LED and digital displays. Neon
Sure.
signs are like they're like a dying industry in Hong Kong. But if somebody looks up, like rainy nights in Hong Kong, there'll always almost be a neon sign somewhere that gives you this, I think, this cyberpunk look. And it's really nice. I mean, there are a few people who still make neon signs by hand, and most of these have some sort of Chinese characters. But the color combination, of course, because it's going to be a neon sign, has to be there, which is very similar to what your PFP has. And there are a lot of other PFPs as well. I think Crypto Soundy has a few really good ones.
Yes,
If
I agree with
yes,
that.
yeah, and there are a few others as well. I think maybe it's Gangster Rabbit. I don't know if he's on Twitter, but I know he's there on Telegram. He has some really
Who was the
amazing.
last individual you were referring to?
I think his name is Gangster Rabbit. I don't know if I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
Gangster Rabbit. Yes, he's there in the he's there in the Abandoned Scorpions Telegram group. Uh, yeah, Whoop-Dee-Doo. I talked with Whoop-Dee-Doo about getting another Scorp, and then because I want to be close to sort of the Robo vibe, maybe like a Red Eyes or something like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so there was one that I found out, and it was in the collection of Gangster Rabbit. And then I went through the rest of it, and there were some really amazing colors. I don't know like how Corone did that or whether it was intentional, but it really works well. There are also these scorpions which are referred to as muted. That's the term they use, and those are really amazing as well. I think muted colors are what I would describe when I'm describing the color palette of Robos. But yes, if I would use loud colors, I think I would probably do that in non NFT piece first, and talk about it, and then if it's good, I will probably move that on to the collection as well. Yes, so essentially I think what my final part would be to have a collection of maybe 20,000 robos, and then I would go through them and take these 5,000 or so, which are the best ones, and then those are the ones that'll be the final batch. I mean, that's what I have in mind.
That's a really cool
To
idea, man. I haven't really heard anyone say anything like that, but I really like that concept. Because then you're
uh,
gonna get a final product that's gonna be like much more high quality. I do see other NFTs, and sometimes I think like this is kind of similar to that. Do I really need like three or four or five with clown noses or whatever? And if you have the touch of the master's hand, like your eyes looking at those, that's pretty cool. I think that'll really help you have a high quality collection, will
yeah,
add
I mean,
lasting value.
I don't know if other collections do that. I can imagine like we probably would, like when you look at a collection of let's say 10,000 or 5,000 on other network or even on Radix, I would imagine that maybe they make double the amount and they go through them one by one to make sure that
Yeah,
the better
I don't know
ones
the
stay
answer to
in.
that. That's a great question.
Yeah. Yeah, but like that's what I have in mind. And given the fact that it's only 5,000 and not 10,000 like most projects have done, I can filter and get the best ones from how many, like let's say 20K. I can filter and get the best ones out of that.
Sounds really bullish, bro. Um, how have you had any experience with doing that generation yet, or is that something you'll be doing down the road? I'm just curious, like how easy that is and how that process works.
So I mean, there are these things called Autominter. I think the website is called autominter.com or the autominter.xyz. So there are these other uh, services online, but then there are also these other, which is like if somebody wants to be a little more hands-on, because I don't know coding, you could follow these things, which you get a code from GitHub, and then you get the Visual Code Studio, and then you just play around with it. So I've done that, it hasn't been with Robos, but I've done that with different things.
That sounds really
Like,
fun.
yeah, so like, and that's free. Like if anybody wants to do that, even with, let's say you have a combination of colors and then you just want to have it, for your own fun, you want to do it for fun, you could do that, and it's completely free, and you could follow these YouTube tutorials that are really hands-on. And even if you know absolutely no coding at all, you could still do that. So I've used that for some other items to kind of see how it plays out, and that gives out the images, and it also gives you the metadata, so the rarity and all those things, um, along with the images. So that's nice. But I think when I mention Autominter and all these things, it gives you more control, as in you want a certain trait to only show up with a certain other trait. So that gives you that control. But the free system, as far as I know, does not give you that control. So like if you only want like a yellowish background on all the cowboy related um, Robos, cowboy themed Robos, then you could probably do that in those paid services, but you probably can't do that in the free ones.
Do you think that's something you'll do? Like you might have a certain degree of custom tailoring to make them more appealing?
Yes, yes. I mean, definitely. There are, like, not to mention anybody in particular, but sometimes I see NFTs and they would have like a suit. They would have like a very crisp suit, and on top of that, they would have a fisherman's hat. I understand it's really funny and all that stuff, but maybe it's just because I want the art to be in a certain way. I wouldn't want to see that in my collection, but I can understand that could be amusing to some people, right?
Sure.
But yeah, yeah. So I've seen
One
that.
hand,
So
sort of the random nature of it, and on the other hand, it's sort of like two things that wouldn't normally go together. And I
yeah,
think that's cool that you're thinking along those lines. It makes me want to go buy some of your NFTs. Sounds like you have a lot of personal feelings on how you want it to go, and that's the kind of thing I like to hear when I'm thinking about picking up stuff. So that's really cool. Because I have bought a lot of NFTs. I probably have a few hundred, maybe more, and a lot of times I run into situations exactly like you described, where I'm like, well, I've got three guys wearing NFT, like wearing inner tubes with suits and a pacifier in his mouth or something like that, something random. And it's like, if only I had the one that had the suit and the cigar and the top hat or whatever. And it'd be cool if there was just a little nudge in that direction. Maybe this is an unpopular opinion too. I could be wrong about this, but I always felt like the investor is getting more value if they're steered at least slightly in that direction.
yeah. I mean, I've seen some projects where, like, I'm guessing you would be familiar with Azuki, which is like a hugely popular Ethereum NFT collection, right?
I don't think I am actually.
Oh yeah, so it's like this anime inspired NFT collection, and
Sounds
I
cool.
haven't gone through all 10,000 of them, but the ones that I have gone through, I haven't felt that okay, these two attributes or these three or four attributes do not go well together. I mean, the ones that I've seen, it's
That's
really well
cool.
done, and I think some people already know that some of the robos, it'll be like few robos in the 5,000 collection that will be inspired by Azuki,
Sweet.
but not like
Yeah.
there is already one preview out there. People can see that and they can kind of like draw their conclusion on like what the inspiration is going to look like, because there are a lot of projects after Azuki hit out with the people. There are a lot of projects that sort of went that way, and the
Uh-huh.
infamous Yukio that we had on Radix
Oh,
was originally
nightmare.
called Souls NFT on Ethereum, and they were also going for a similar vibe to the original Azuki.
Yeah, those
Um,
were really beautiful NFTs.
yeah, like it's really unfortunate what happened, but
I
so
think it's
that
unfortunate,
was
but it also sort of hardened our community and sort of brought us closer together. And I think like it's great that T Moth caught it when he did, and that people didn't get more hurt by it. Because I think they would have taken it as far as they could. I think they would have actually produced the NFTs and distributed them, and then maybe just left at that time.
Yeah, because
So I do
when
think
that
it's good
project
in that sense.
came out, it was a little unlike any other project out there. Because when you see at the Robos or the Penguins or pretty much any other NFT, Radix NFT, you see that they follow the community. You see that they like and they comment and they interact with the community
Yes,
like they do.
they
But
do. It's awesome.
when I went to their page, they were only following the Radix, the official Radix Twitter handle, and they were following the Azuki Twitter handle. That's it, only two following.
Oh,
And then I did try to do like a reverse image search. And I did speak with Timoth about it as well. I said that, I mean, no, I don't know if this sounds offensive, but when I saw the art, I mean, being an artist, when I saw the art, I'm like, this is really good. And when I saw the price, which was 20 XRD, I was like, there's a huge disconnect between what they're giving you and the price that they're asking.
sure.
So I spoke with Tmoth about this. I ran reverse image search. Nothing came up. But it's nice that Tmoth was able to was able to catch on to whatever they were doing and whichever the original project was. But I've also seen some people mention that we are having essentially scamsters come to Radix, which means that it is making noises beyond our community as well. So it's yeah, it's bad what happened, but some people are kind of looking at that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a sign of the growth, like the other things we kind of talked about, like us doing this Twitter space. I feel like the scamsters and the rug pulls all come along with that as people see like value in trying to steal our tokens.
Yeah.
So that is
So
a good way. That's a good way to look at it, also.
yeah, I mean, I think it also is something that would help people be more critical about every project that comes on, which is a good thing, in my
For
opinion.
sure,
It's a
for
good thing.
sure.
Yeah, if you want to be super critical about the robos before buying them, go ahead. You know, like it's your hard-earned XRD, and I do know that at 100 XRD, the robos are not within the average price range that's on the Radix network NFTs. But yeah, so like I think it's also the idea when you look at a project and when you look at the amount of 20 XRD, you are more you're more cavalier, you know, you're more careless about that kind of thing.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm guessing like eventually, you know, we'll have Radix, you know, move beyond $1 or something like that, and then you know people are going to be far more careful. But yeah,
Yeah, I
uh,
agree 100%. I always try to think of any time I make a purchase, like one radix is $1. I think it'll be more than that. I think it'll be a lot more than that. But I try to think of that in my mind. Like, do I want to spend 1,000 or 30,000 radix if it's $30,000? I kind of have to think about that in my head every time I make a transaction because we're so early. We don't think about that. We're like the Bitcoin pizza guy, you know. We're like, oh, here's 10,000 radix on this pizza, but really, in the future, we're going to look at that and we're like, here's $100,000 that you spent on this NFT, which is awesome in a way, right? Because it would be cool when we get to that point. But at the same time, you have to kind of, as investors, they kind of make that judgment call, like, do I see this being worth $100,000 in the future, or that sort of mentality.
yeah, so I mean, we've had a lot of projects come on recently. I mean, there are these projects that I'm really looking forward to and what they bring to how that'll play out. But that's just me as I wouldn't even call myself as an artist because I haven't had the experience. But there are certain projects that I really look forward to, simply just because of the art style.
Sure. What would you
And
say is like
yeah,
your top three Radix projects that you look forward to?
I would say, uh, you know, if I would say, uh, I wouldn't. mention the Scorpions because they are in probably a different league, right? So besides the Scorpions, obviously, there's the Nerds Republic, and I think the Nerds Republic sort of have this thing that the collection isn't out, and you don't know what you have, and that's why it's not making as much noise as it is. But I'm really, really, really looking forward to how they,
I agree with that too.
yeah. And I like the art style. The art style is amazing. And Kevin mentioned that they'll be on chain,
Yes.
which is I don't think any other project is, as far as I know.
Yes, because
Besides
it's
that,
vector-based graphics as opposed to like a picture. They're using like math to calculate the lines. And that also means that they have another advantage too in that sense, which I don't know if Kevin mentioned this or not, but like if you get an Adobe Illustrator, which is I don't know if people even use that anymore, but like in the early 2000s when I was in graphic design school, we used Illustrator. And the nice thing about it is it's vector-based graphics, which is what Nerds is going to be, and you can scale that stuff unlimited. So you can have a nerd, that fits on the side of your coffee cup, or you can have one on your T-shirt, and it'll be exactly the same appearance, like true to scale, because it's scaling mathematically instead of like scaling the pixels. It's scaling the lines mathematically. So you could put it on the wall of your house, and it would be the same visual representation as something the size of a stamp, which is I think one of the features that a lot of people don't really realize about that project yet, and I think it'll come to light in the future. They kind of talked about it a little bit. The big thing with them is, like you said, we don't really have a lot of information yet. But I do feel really bullish on their ecosystem because Vlad, I believe his name is the guy that's creating that, and he has a lot of other Radix based projects that he's also working on concurrently. So I feel like that's a really good sign that he's not going to have any intention of rugging people. Like he's working on, I think it's Photon, which is the NFT exchange he's working on, and that looks pretty high quality too from the bit I've seen. So I think that it'll probably work out fine, but we'll see.
yeah, I think if I'm not wrong, Photon would be this marketplace of sorts. I guess, but I'm not sure.
Yes, I think that is true. I think it'll
Okay,
be sort of
yeah.
an NFT marketplace.
Yeah, but yeah, if anybody wants to know, so the Robos will not be SVG. I made them on Procreate, so they're raster based, which is I don't know how to explain. Raster based is like um, scaling by pixels is right. So if you were to really blow it up, you would have a loss in quality. However, the canvas size is around 2000 by 2000 with 600 DPI, so it should hold pretty well for most
Nice.
users. Yeah.
Yeah,
So for
that's good
most
to know.
users, it should be fine. Yeah. So even the non-NFTs are also on the same format. But they're not 2000 by 2000. They're mostly built for the Twitter post, which is I think uh, 1300 by something. That's the Twitter post size. So
Gotcha.
I try to do that for them. And then yeah, like in the future, if I would be able to build on like an SVG thing, I would love to do that. But like I mentioned, there's still a lot of learning that I have to do when it comes to digital art. Um, yeah.
I think you're doing a great job, man. I don't. I'm not familiar with SVG. I don't have enough knowledge of that background, but I think that sounds like you've put a lot of thought into it. And you're doing a fine job. But I think it's probably a good time to wrap things up. I'm gonna get in trouble with the wife soon. I'll when I'm done here, I'm gonna go back and edit the beginning of your this thing, and then I'll post it online. I'll pin it to my Twitter profile so you can link to it. I think my understanding is that these only last for about a month and then they just go away. So if you're interested in saving it more than that time frame, I'm not entirely sure how to do that yet. But it would be kind of cool if I could archive all of these because I have at least two more planned already, and I'm sure there'll be other people coming along. But thanks for coming. I really appreciate talking to you, and I've definitely learned a lot more about your project and a little bit about Hong Kong, which is awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. You know, it's lovely to be able to talk about the Robos at length and in as much detail as this, because I don't think even on Telegram I have never been in as much detail like I have been here. So
Yeah,
maybe,
it's
yeah,
really
I think
fun,
I
right?
probably, yes, yes. I think I'll probably go back to this and pick up some notes to update on my website. So yes, I will see if I can find a way to download this one as well. You know, it definitely needs to be in my hard drive forever.
Sure. And if you find an easy way to do that, I'd love to hear your tips on that. But I do think, just real quick on your point too, I think there's something really special about Twitter Space that like we're all Radix geeks here, and when we go around the world and we talk about it, people are like, I don't know what that is. Is that just an investment opportunity? They don't like to get involved in those conversations like we do. So it's very refreshing to sit and talk to people that are very interested and knowledgeable of the space. So thank you for coming out and doing that, man.
Thank you, thank you. I really enjoyed this. Yeah. I don't know if you could tell. Could you tell that I'm wearing a face mask right now because of the mic or anything?
No, no, I don't think I
No.
can help that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Are
because we
you,
still have a lot of COVID restrictions in Hong Kong.
oh wow. I assumed that you were like in your home and sitting at a computer desk in your house or something.
Oh no, no, I'm outside. I'm outside.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to, is it going to be Radical Penguins next time?
Yes, I'm going to talk to them. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I believe it's next Saturday, and it'll be the main guy and also the guy that does the art. So one is the creator of Radical Penguins, and the other gentleman is the artist, and they'll both be there together. So I'm going to have to talk to two people. It'll be awesome. And I
Okay,
have another appointment that I haven't actually scheduled yet to talk to one of the Radix guys, the creative director. So that'll be cool too. But I haven't actually scheduled that yet because I feel like I have my real life job and my real life responsibilities too. So I don't want to get too deep into it. But it's definitely on my radar that I want to do that. And then I'll probably try to get some other people here too. It's really fun talking to all the Radix people.
okay, yeah, I'll be looking forward to this space, man. So the creative director is from Radix? Is it the like from the actual Radix Works?
Yeah, it is. It's
Okay. I think he goes by the Twitter handle like JER or something like
Jacob.
that, right?
It's Jacob
Oh, okay. Oh,
is who I'm
okay,
going to be
okay, okay.
talking with. Jacob was
Okay.
really cool. He saw my last thing that I did with Bonafide Plug, and he said he appreciated it and he'd be happy to interview with me. So I'm definitely going to do that. I think he's awesome, and he probably has like some special information that he probably won't be able to share with me as much as I'd like to know. But it would be really cool to be able to pick his brain, from a Radix perspective. It's going to be great, man. So hopefully I'll get a chance to do that as well.
Oh, okay. That'll be really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely post that as well. And I'm not sure if I'll interview him alone or if I'll do it as a group thing with like Tom Gaffney and those guys too, because that would be the other way you could do it too, right? It's like have everybody involved and take questions and stuff.
Oh, okay. That's really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. We're really growing. It's an exciting time to be in Radix. So thank you, man. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Talk to you later too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.